Real Invido, this small brand, that only happened through the ecosystems collaboration that learn to modeling, to sewing, and to create different kind of products from wasting textile that was available at this textile bank that we have in Vila Flores. We are experimenting with horizontal governance models under which people affected and mobilized by a kind of theme can take the project forward. We have today 9 master degree scholarship holders supported by Instituto Lojas Renner, carry out research related to sustainable fashion and social innovation. We can also see that we change a big factory called Badushi Text doing this kind of research. It's another partner that we had and we visit. Herself, another small brand that we support along this time. A lot of meetings using this wasting textile and rethink how we can deal with them. And transforming this is a meditation zazen that Adriane will buy next month. She's trying to buy, but it will be today. And what we can see that all of these students can carry out, they are free to propose activities based on their expertise connected to the principles of the manifesto that united us. They are free to co-create everything that the manifesto allows us to do. The project for putting in place sustainable fashion ecosystem is now 2 years old. What were our findings? Throughout this period, we have supported local brands as this that I show you. Organizing MAR, it's a kind of event to sell things, fashion, art, and revolution, it's the name, by holding courses and lectures that are free, or at least participants pay as much as they can. We empower women in different kinds of races, body sizes, and economic incomes by creating a sewing group that is reinventing wasting textiles into new products. We understood that collaboration is difficult, very difficult, but we insist on that. Collaboration in times of economic crisis diminished because people turn to activities to ensure their survival, but we keep trying to stimulate this collaboration in these different places that we have. We also understood that in political and environment crisis, collaboration strengthens once again into form of activisms, and people start to sharing again. Here is everything that you can see. This hashtag, it's a kind of device that we created here, but everyone could use, and we can see how people reinterpreted our manifesto using this hashtag. Just to finish, so far we understood that taking actions to projects, it was what connects people and move them toward actions. And that's a possible model for action might be a continuous design process, capable of identifying the signs of change, social cultural change, and raising provocative questions capable of giving rise to reflection and action in society. Through mutant projects connected to local and global movements in order to pierce the bubbles that's created by algorithms that surrounded our lives. And we are still trying to find out if it's possible to give rise to activate or create a social innovation ecosystem, Khadija. I told you I couldn't. So join us and try to answer this question if it's possible to co-create or create or activate the system. Thank you. I'm sorry for the delay.
Thank you, Karine, for your contribution. The last but not least, Adriane, please, can join us.
Thank you. Let me try to find here. Okay. So, thank you for this opportunity, Claudia. It's a great pleasure to be here with Karine, and with Claudia we are trying to work more together, and it's a great opportunity. I will bring, and thank you for sharing, you both girls, these so beautiful experiences. I will bring a bit, well, I'm beginning with some questions, could be many, many others. But just to say how social science like to think and questionate. The social scientist is really a questioner, always trying to understand the roots, perform analysis, prospects, and perceptions seen from different places. But we are not so bad. We are moved by a great sense of love by humanity and society. So we think too much. We used to go deeply into phenomena, and at the end I think it's very important for social innovation. Firstly, because social scientists have been studying the social since its origin for over a century. And I will just very briefly discuss a bit what is about social changes, social transformation, social innovation, and to connect it with, very briefly with these historical tentatives of changing society for a better way, obviously. So we had, during the time, the history, different paradigms of social change. We have, firstly, in positivist period, the social sciences were concerned with the dysfunctional. Imagine that society was so perfect, harmonious, that everybody could have a chance to be integrated and be a good citizen and everyone and all. But since the society, we note that was not so harmonious and egalitarian for all, some process of transformations, that was at the end the great dream of the human being in modernity, how to really be autonomous and by the reason make a better place. And we had three principles to change the world. A principle of freedom through the lens of, through the lens of principle of equality. But neither the projects of society emancipations, capitalism nor socialism has solved the issue of social emancipation. Both create the technical or technological conditions for that. So we created many conditions today to food all humanity, but at the same time, one child dies of hunger in each 5 seconds. So while I will be speaking to you here, we have, it will be 400 of children dying. We have the means today, 2019, but what we lack to change the world is the moral condition. The rationalization that we live through all modernity, for all this advance of the science, this rationalization of the world led to a kind of irrationality. So what is, and it's important just to bring this for us to also to bring lessons for what we can use now for thinking about social innovation. So it was not about changing infrastructures. Guattari, that also Karine mentioned, said that the problem was not the oil, but the production of subjectivity. The production of subjectivity is the raw material of any and all production. The production of subjectivity is perhaps more important than any other type of production, more essential than oil and energies. We think that's so easy to change look, to change behavior, to the way we feel, interact with people, but at the end, it is really what we can learn from these last experiences. So what leads us to believe that social innovation can be promising for solving social problems, or to build affairs if we want to have a broad vision to building a fair, more sustainable and inclusive society? Which lessons we have been learning? Would it be legitimate and pertinent to use social applied to the term, to use innovation applied to the term social, to correct the problems that use of technological innovation help it to create or potentiate? So these are some questions that in social science are made. So here, I think we know some of these authors, important reference we have in the theoretical basis of social innovation. Just a brief concept that is currently understood as increasing the effectiveness of process, services, and products related to meeting social needs not met by the market, also for social inclusion and empowering disadvantaged segments, generating new and lasting solutions for social groups, communities, or society in general. So it's a very broad concept. Nobody would be against social innovations. It's made through a multiplicity of practices engendered by various social actors, state, society, market, and preferable at the intersection between them. It's great, it's very contemporary, necessary, but a challenge, because these actors are distinct, have different inputs, asymmetrical power relations, and often different intentions. In a world governed by the primacy of capital, of the scientific knowledge, and of the global level, how to know what really social innovation is, beginning knowing what social innovation is not. Because sometimes it can appear very confusing. So let's say let's separate. Social innovation is not just modernization, although it uses technology for that. It's not just cost reduction, although it reduces costs, because it's systemic, it's based on a systemic and participation. So it tends to optimize, yes, but definitely it's not reduction of rights. And it can be, sometimes some practice can be make up, and at the end we need to, to understand that first question, for whom the results It's not just for whom, but we'll see it soon. So the premise of the social, what changed when we have the premise of the social aligned to the word innovation? It requires another paradigm because we are not living in a society where the premise is the social, but we are still living in a society where the primacy is still in global scale. It's not, I'm not just saying in a raw way, but to see the primacy, to put social firstly, requires another paradigm of knowledge, and I'm saying now about epistemological foundations of social innovation, okay? So another paradigm of knowledge, an ecology among multiple knowledge. Scientific, yes, ancestral, practical, popular, many kinds of knowledge. Another paradigm of economy, market economy, is a phenomenon, is a very recent phenomenon. And there are many things we can think about. But there are other economies now: solidarity, creative, cooperative economy, shared, circular, many other kinds. And another paradigm of transformation or social emancipation, that maybe the main important thing is not to have a single big project to society, but many possibilities. And we saw today here already some of them. So this epistemological foundation that can change in our lens, and our lens that science is very responsible in these last centuries for building, that led us to understand that the local is not inferior to the global, that the popular is not inferior than the scientific, the periphery is not inferior to the center, and allows us to redefine the local, the informal, the anachronistic, the popular, the spiritual, and so penning, like when you get some gold from the mood, penning and revealing its dynamics, richness, and effects is really a big challenge, because we need to change not only our lens, but our tools and everything. And when we can change our lens, instead of scarcity, we can look a lot of abundance, infinite possibilities. Do you remember something? Infinite possibilities. I think we are in the right place to say that. We will see the richness and the variety of experiences in the world that are happening, and many times invisibilized. So just very briefly, the ethos of social innovation is a device, an interesting device to understand and to considering the heterogeneity of the social innovation field, help us, social scientists always want to understand everything and go deeply in the phenomena. So what really social innovation is? For what, or to whom, or with whom? So to recognize the importance of the ethical political dimension, the importance of the recognition of the multiplicity of effects. It's a very big challenge to understand that there is not only an economic effect, that in general the effectiveness is measured, but extra economic, tangible and intangible, and how to construct multidimensional and systemic indicators. And at the end, for what, to whom, with whom. So these different intensities, we can say, it's not just to say, to exclude any kind of experiences, but to qualify it. And they are very different. Some of them are self-management. You have a strong change of relations and change of culture, and others are less intense. So why not to understand? So social innovation has these features closely aligned with contemporary conceptions of the production of practice and knowledge, such as complexity, horizontality, and diversity. It's a whole framework based on equality and inclusive perspectives, and add to the debate that have been done in other thematic areas of social science, like social movements, public policy. So there is a contribution. However, while deep and theoretical and epistemological analyses are important in preventing social innovation from falling into the simplistic approach to the ready-made formula, this is, I think, something we need to try to take attention. This is not only one of the challenges of a social science, but something that was already talked today. It invites us, social innovation main frame, invite us to a production of knowledge with people, not about people and not for people, through many participatory action research methodologies in an interdisciplinary, transdisciplinary way to an open, democratic, and inclusive science. And I will bring, you already knew soon, I will bring something that's not read, something that's very new, and I'm very happy that I have some of the members of this research here, not members, but co-researchers here. So in the beginning of this year, we start a new research, and the initial intention and the project is approved is to study collaborative houses, and Karine already brought Villa Flores, where we are weekly there with the same dog that she shows also is our partner. So it's very nice. When we began to work, many things happened, and at the end I begin to think, wow, my God, how I will make the report of this research. What happened? And Mohan are saving me for now, because the method is building during the way. And I remember also the poetry Spanish, Antonio Machado. It's in Spanish, but Walker, there is no path. The path is made by walking. And I said, oh, okay. Sometimes maybe I can also show to CNPq, our research funding agents. I have something to, I don't have other pictures, but this collaborative house, there are many in Porto Alegre, I need to pass briefly, but it led me to the collective poem cat, that is in English, restless poem, Porto Alegre, and it is a collective that has a bit more than 1 year, inspired by the talking circles of Medellin, aimed to the transformation of the city through creative economy, and the principles are local, inclusive, creative, and systemic vision, people-centered experience. Today, there are more than 2,000 people connected on WhatsApp, around 34 spins and 21 projects, with and also many presential meetings. We have here some features that already was discussed today. All sectors, social sectors involved, university, community, corporations, enterprises, many kinds, and public policy. And some convivial agreements. So the mistake tolerance, do it, not just think, but go and do. Do, and we are lovely. Nano-acabativas, impossible to translate, but do small things and make things be possible like that. Do not institutionalize until now it's keep being something. Do not no ideologies by the movement, not personal, but and the diversity, I already talked about the importance. So one thing begin to lead to another thing. And it is becoming really a very kind of interesting participatory research, action research. We are doing, and the university is also contributing in many different projects to think together, to plan together. When I begin to, it was at Unicinos the first meeting of one of the spin of social innovation and diversity in this building of Unicinos. We booked the second mission to Medellin because these guys here made the first mission. And then we make a female, we three went to Medellin, where now we have an academic cooperation with the University of Antioquia, and many actions beginning. It's very interesting because also Medellin is a Latin America city with problems of inequality, many things, and violence we live, and they could change in 25 years from the most violence to one of the most innovative. So we have lots of learn from there. We are now building in Poa Inquieta, the Open City project, and also beginning to go to get funding. We already went to we have two communities. One is Villa Santa Teresa that Karine also showed in one of these pictures, and the other one is Ilha da Pintada. It's an island near these two territories, look one for another, and they have many similarities. So we are creating this project to promote inclusive city, not just to create situations of inclusion inside, but at the end to think in a more inclusive city. So it's not possible now to say how many actors are involved and how many backgrounds, knowledge. We are now creating also a living lab to organize through cartographies and what we have, the richness, the invisible richness we have, at least in 5 territories in Porto Alegre. It initially will be a course of extension at Unicinos here. And we are, together with people, creating a new methodology to know the unknown in the invisible city, in the territories, and not only on the center. And with this, we will subsidize many, many other actions, like a big festival that will be here in Porto Alegre 2020. So finally, we are engaged in enjoying chaotic process. You can see that I don't have all these content systematized. And in a bricolage of methodologies and really doing something we still do not know what is, but it's anchored on strong backgrounds and social commitment. The process is very strong, and only researching and only the process already worth so much. But there are also, for sure, many actions happening. From the point of academic field, I hope that we can do much more. Be more together in the experiences and with the subjects. This being together is not simple, as we have very difficult homework we as academics to do, which is the permanent exercise of deeply humility in relation to our supposed and socially attributed universal knowledge. It's the exercise of being touched by one by another, and from this mix comes out also an innovative science an open, democratic, and inclusive science. So considering the whole of science in last centuries, I think here is the space where we really need to review our lens and how expand much more the whole of university, and the university that can be much more socially useful to, for us to build a more inclusive society. Thank you.
Thank you, Adriane. Now we have 10 minutes for questions and discussions. So I would like to invite Claudia, Karine, and Adriane to stay here. If someone have questions, you can answer. Please, questions?
Thank you. Well, thank you for all the presentations. Claudia, I got a question about the, well, you mentioned the government got no involvement at all in the project you presented. So, I mean, that's really something, I mean, there was no government at all in that region. It's funny because I'm Brazilian, but I've never been there. But, I mean, there's no government at all, or it just didn't get involved in the project? I mean, because I know it's a very, very far away region, but
So this community is located in an island that is completely isolated from other big cities, and they don't have health system or educational system. So in some way, they are in a position that is say that there is an institutional void in this location. So there's no participation of the government in this solution and this
okay.
initiative.
Thank you.
I have two questions. I think it was very interesting to see the really broad perspective and different perspectives in these three departments or schools of the Unisinos University. One question would be, are there projects where you work together and to bring together the different approaches? Because I think the projects that you described are separate in the different schools. And the second one, I think it was especially to Karine. Do you feel part of a social movement or a political movement? Because I said in my presentation that it's always about power. And when I saw some of the pictures that you presented, I think it was also a very engaged and political engaged movement and work that you do. Would you feel as part of a social movement?
I'm not sure if I am a part of a specific social movement. We started this kind of movement of sustainability, for example, and we talk about collaborative ways of talk about sustainability. So I engaged with Fashion Revolution movement, Virada Sustentável movement, and I call myself a design activist. So I active design things to help this sustainable society. So I'm not part of one social movement, but different kind of movements that helps to disseminate this kind of sustainable culture. And what I can do is to design devices that helps this kind of movement to build a better society. And fashion is just a way to talk about this kind of things, because we can express ourselves about what we think about, just by using different kind of clothes, using different kind of shoes, valuing local communities that build our clothes, and we start to say buy local, transform our society by buying things from everyone who is next to you, build a different kind of society and bring value to the society. So yes, I'm a kind of a lot of movements. And we are trying to do some kind of research together, so we didn't do until now. I don't know if I answered the first question, and I will share with you the microphone.
Well, this panel actually was a challenge for ourselves because Unicinos is Jesuit University, and the social issue is very important for everybody here. But the thing is that depends on the area, you address the social problems a different way. So our idea was to give you a sample of how can you understand social innovation by different lens. So by business, by design, and social sciences. And of course, there's some points in common, but there is a very different way to see this kind of problem, depends on the area. So it's a challenge to get these different perspectives together in the debate. And that's the thing.
I think that in practice we are doing things very closely. And we still could not really stop to thinking about together its product. But we are in the same ecosystem and together. And also I'm working with one corporation, an enterprise here. And it's very interesting because it's beyond beyond us. Unicinos is strongly investing in an integrated vision between technological innovation, social innovation, economy, and social. So we feel these effects. We already are being invited, and the spaces between into Unicinos are creating these spaces for we to work more and more together.
Hello, professors. Good afternoon. I tried to make one question, like an interdisciplinary question, but my education was very disciplinarian, so I had a hard time. So instead, I made a question for each one of you. So going in the order, first for Professor Claudia. I'm from Ceará, although I attend the PhD here. And Ceará, for the professors who don't know, it's a little bit north. It's in the northeast. It's warmer there. And we have some very good social innovations. It's been very strong social innovators, especially in the drylands, in the semi-arid. And we have also some strong institutional voids. Therefore, some of these initiatives have been successful because of partnerships with private companies. And I would like to ask you first, if you, in your research experience in the North, if you could find similar partnerships. I believe that maybe not with this one, but with others. And this is my question for you. And my question for Professor Carini would be, I would like you, if you could, elaborate a bit more about the challenges that you faced in co-creating design with your beneficiaries, because you told that you had a hard time, it was difficult in the beginning to interact with them. So I would like you to talk a little more about these obstacles and what did you do to overcome these challenges. And the last, Professor Adriani, I would like to ask you, what the universities could do in order to get closer not only to the surrounding communities, but try to scale the work we do and transfer knowledge to society as a whole. Because I know this is not a new topic, a new discussion, but it's something that I think it's important to bring up over and over again. So thank you very much for each one of the presentations, by the way.
So I'm going to start. It's amazing when you are in the South area, because here you can see some poverty or some bad situations regarding to social issues, but it's completely different when you go to some place that are completely empty and abandoned. So it's different to think about poverty and misery. And there is some isolated places in Brazil that they don't have any resources for the basic things. And this community is one example because they are completely isolated. So the government's not there, they are absent. But the companies have a very important place in this community. And you have Natura involved in this Baili community and also Banco do Brasil Foundation. But the thing is that you have also to change the mentality of the companies because sometimes in Brazil we have a culture to, I always say, give the fish, not teach to fish. But it's an assistencialist culture. So you give the resources to poor community and expect that they solve their own problems. And that's our, no? So we did something, so we are free to go. And actually, it's not true. It's impossible to do that. We will not change any reality with this kind of culture. And so the companies has a very strong role as an active actor in the solution of this kind of problem. But also they need to change their mentality. It's not only a matter to support with some resources, but the idea about social innovation is co-create, is being there. And the most rich resource that you can give to this community is participating and sharing some knowledge. And when you share knowledge, it's something very weird because we don't have one knowledge that to share with each other. The result is something completely different that you only can create when you have different people with different perspectives. So it's not only a matter to add different knowledge, but you create something new. And I think that's what happens when you have actors that really are committed with a social initiative. And sometimes you need to change because most of the companies are not ready for this challenge. You have to change the mentality and it's not easy.
I was thinking about what I will tell to you right now about our challenges. So I think the main challenge was that people are used to have someone telling them what to do. They have a boss. And in the ecosystem, I can have a boss or I can have a leader because if there is a leader, it's not an ecosystem. Everyone have to collaborate, to co-create in different levels in a horizontal level. And sometimes people start to asking me, Karine, can I do this? And I said, oh, if I am telling you that you can, it's not an ecosystem, so you can do whatever you want if this is the manifesto. So change this kind of mentality of the participants to co-create, to have a project and develop this project as much as they could with the resources that as they have without asking permission for everyone, just checking in the manifesto if they could do that. It was one of the main challenge. And we have another thing that we used to say, don't kill the fish. Because sometimes they have the fish and the fish stay there without everyone taking care of the fish and the fish just milk it. So it's a kind of problem because everyone starts to going back to their main business and forget the collective intentions. It was the second challenge that we had. And we had a kind of WhatsApp group that we change every project that we have. Everyone can comment it and incentivize this development of the project. We started with another kind of platform called Slack, trying to share the projects, share all the documents that we have. Everyone could participate whenever enters in the system, because WhatsApp, we just see what are being discussed after we enter in, but the Slack, it was different, but didn't work, the Slack. Also because people are so used to use this kind of technology, that change technology, it was a second difficult that we have. And we are trying to change this technology because of the openness that the other one had. So collaboration must be cultivated every day, and it's so difficult to change the cultural aspect of our individuality, and I think this is the main challenge that we have. Change the culture, change behavior, and start to have a kind of culture of community that it's so used to have in that city that I don't remember the name. It's an island. In an island, everyone collaborate, and I think like a community. And here, in our environment that is so individualistic, it's so difficult to have these places when you can share values, share our time, share our responsibilities. But now we have some examples that it's possible to share knowledge, share collaboration, share our time, and grow up this sustainable culture in different places.
I agree with my colleagues. No, the same. It's not different in a way, the challenge when we are really doing social innovation and co-creation, something, these challenges really are very present. But just to add something, I think that I've been taking a lot of care in look to myself as an academic, a representative of the scientific knowledge and all. I think we still tend to not only to be seem like someone that, but also to feel that we know how to do, and the tendency of other kinds of small colonizations in, okay, a term a bit strong, but I think the first work is with us, and be really open to learn, really much time, speak less and listen more, and let things happen. And I'm sure that many of co-researchers here of the POENCAT could say much more about this. But another thing, just to finish, would be active methodologies. We need tools that are appropriated to this view and intention. So we are working a lot to arrive in a ludic, in a creative way, listen children. That combi is one of our tools, that combi that Karine showed. And the children, we still did not did in that project, but in other projects. The children go, they would guide the goal, and they say, what are they dream for their lives, and what they dream for the community. So these things, how can we listen much more in other ways, and really, for us, I think, how we can put in a horizontal, really horizontal with other people and knowledge.
So, something more?
If I had time to show the video that I didn't have time, I will just show in a minute, and you can, if no one has questions, just this group, just to show where are you, we. And this is the group that we created, and they transform clothes with fair costs. collaboration. They did some things to this coffee, and the coffee brings back to them this reception. It was a beautiful reception, and it's a kind of collaborative encounter. So we can see that it's possible to collaborate.
Thank you, Karine. Thank you, Claudia. And thank you, Adriane. Here, Adriane. So now we have 10 minutes for coffee, and after that we will continue. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Thank you. The third panel. Today we will hear, let me see. This third panel is about the social innovation initiative in Brazil. Celia Cruz from ICA. Who is Celia? Ah, okay. Celia, Carolina, here, the girl that have a lot of questions. Yeah. Silvio Bittencourt, I know, and Lucas from PUC. Well,
one of the first mapping of social business in Brazil. And if you look, I don't know if I can, how can I, is there the light here? No, it's okay. Okay, it's impossible to see, so don't worry. But what they are looking is that more and more some startups are using technology, but really below the level that we could access when we see startups globally. So they are using artificial intelligence, big data, but a lot of the startups in Brazil, they say we are using technology, but when you go deep and deep, no. They have a vision to use, but they don't know, we don't have the technology. So it's a huge absence, and we need to have this kind of approach, bring startups to really connect with the best technology for social change. Another approach is that when we are talking about social innovation, we really need to understand more about innovation, but here I'm between a lot of academics, so I'm not going to go through all that, because you know better than me about new products, how can we really create products that respond to the urgent needs of social problems in Brazil. New business model, we can see a lot of business model, B2B, B2C, B2G, but really trying to create sustainable models that really can guarantee the scaling up of this business. In the production, can we really create cheap and simplify products, but also careful with the resources, the natural resource that we are using. And finally, can we really co-create this kind of innovation with low-income communities, not only to create products for them, but how to really engage them in the design of those products. So there are a lot of things to think about innovation. Here, another map from Pipe Social, and what I wanted to show is that in this map with 1,000 projects, 80% of the social business really tells us that they are target only the bottom pyramid. And 82% also target the bottom pyramid, but in the process. So there is a big movement in the new generation of social entrepreneurs, particularly in this map, that are trying to develop products and services that really increase the quality of life for low-income communities. A lot of them are trying to measure the impact and are trying to create those kind of solutions with low-income communities. But we have a lot to do on that. So the third result we are looking is really, are we being effective with those social business? This, for me, one of the big impact that we are seeing this movement of social business and impact investing is really how to measure impact. Can we really start making the questions about outcome? Are we still only looking for output? I think a lot of and I see lots of professors doing yes, and it's something that we are really trying to create also centers, social entrepreneurship centers that are looking a lot on how to create indicators for those social business. I think Aurelia is working with theory of change, creating indicators for social business, so it's where we need to go. And when we are also talking about effectiveness of solutions, but also the purpose of the invested capital. I like this figure here. I'm not really good on this here. That there is a man called Sir Ronald Cohen in England. He's one of the Pope in this field. And he tells us that in the 19th century, when you invest the money, let's say I'll take Diego all the time, if he was in the 19th century, he would look only for return on investment. He was born in the 20th century, so he is always looking for return and risk. And by measuring risk, even if it's not perfect, a lot of the capital move around the globe. And she, so young, so she is born in the 21st century, and he thinks in the next few years we are going to see the market measuring risk, return, and impact. And if in the next few years is not perfect, we are going to see more capital moving globally because we will have mechanisms to compare risk, return, and impact. So that's a thesis that we are really looking at. There are lots of people investing in this movement. So what is impact investing and what's impact business? So first, impact investing can be private and public capital that can be put into organizations, funds, and companies, but the big change is here with the intention to generate social and environment impact alongside a financial return. So that's why I'm saying we need to bring new pools of capital. So if we have impact and financial return, we can move more capital into this area of social innovation, into this area of social business. So that's the concept we use for impact investing from GIMC, is the Global Impact Investing Network. And on the other side of the coin, impact business, it can be different business model. We say we don't care about the legal structure. So we work with NGOs, with income generation. We work with NGOs with social business, cooperatives, social business that reinvest the profit, and social business that can distribute profit. We work with everyone that can really create impact. So that's our concept, but we also add one point: we need to monitor impact. It doesn't need to have only intention, we need to measure social and environment impact. And need to have the financial performance. Cannot be just an NGO dependent on nations. They need to have a business that can create a financial performance. What needs to happen for this movement to really scale up? I forgot to see what time I started. We tell that we need to move all the, como fala, gears, thank you. We need to move all the 4 gears at the same time. That for us is a change that needs to happen. So we need to increase a lot of supply of capital. So we are working with the wealth, the normal people, with government, with large corporations. So who can bring new capital? On the other side of the gears, we need to have more and more social business. Otherwise, the people who have capital say, oh, but there is no social business for me to invest. And the other side is, I'm a social business, but where are the capital to be invested? And to happen, we tell, is the infrastructure of this ecosystem that needs to be built. So we are really supporting a lot the intermediaries organizations like academics, accelerators, incubators, organizations of evaluation, and to promote a macro environment with new regulations for this field to work. So the image that we work on this ecosystem of impact investing and social business, it was inspired and built with Tim Raymond when he was doing this in Canada, was first is like we all in this room are connected to create better social impact. That's the first line there. So health, education, But who is going to develop that kind of impact is those kind of organizations that I had already mentioned, from NGOs with income revenue to business that can distribute profits. So for us, all those are social business. In this side are the pools of capital that if I bring impact and financial performance, they will move capital into this area. And for the capital to move from here, if I have the line, oops, no, from the supply to the demand, we are telling that we need to support intermediaries to help this capital to go to the demand side, but also we are attentive of financial instruments, new or old, that can help this capital to move to the demand. There is a big amount of money coming into this area, globally 228 billion. I'm not going to be looking. In Brazil, one of the research from Andy is saying 343 million, but this is the piece that I'm talking only about impact investing funds. We have seen every day nowadays in the newspapers, there is new companies, corporate venture, there are government looking for that. So there is new pools of capital enter in this area. So said about this ecosystem, ICE is an organization that I'm going to tell few things that we do on this area. So we have a theory of change to help to support more capital in Brazil for this area, strengthening the intermediaries, to have a new generation of academics and students working in this area, and to work also bringing more capital, particularly our associates. We try to move them either from the philanthropic side or their investment side to bring capital to this area. So these are our programs. And the first thing we do, we look to the ecosystem and we try to find in a really collaborative way what kind of interventions we can do with different partners to move the ecosystem and to move recommendations to Brazil. So this is an example of actions that we build, and I'm going to focus today more on the kind of interventions we do with intermediaries, but we do things with the government, we do things in the business, large corporations, so we do different interventions, and I'll focus there. So one of our program is the Alliance for Impact Investing and Social Business. And this is our advocacy program that one of the things we do, we created 15 recommendations to Brazil in a super participatory way. And in 2015, we launched recommendations, and we monitor every year. We create labs to move the agenda of those recommendations, and we try to continue supporting those recommendations. And I will give a particular example here, what we did for a recommendation, how foundations should move 5% of their annual grants to help developing this ecosystem. So in this particular recommendations, that's the recommendation number 2, we designed a common agenda with GIFI. GIFI is our foundation center. She said, I have a little bit more time. Is our foundation center. We create a theory U with Otto Scharmer and his partners in Brazil. And here we can't see really well. Okay, with a diverse of players. We promote with 22 foundations to put some money in this project to learn how to use new financial instruments like loan, grants, and crowd equity. So it was a way to move foundations from only doing grants, but to also explore new financial instruments. We did meetings, webinars, and we evaluate and we disseminate. And now we have a second group of 20 foundations also working on this field. So that's one of the ways we do a lot of labs to support recommendations. So in this program, we feel ourselves as a backbone organization in the ecosystem. We build concepts, we promote labs, we monitor data, and we are really connected to a global movement. We are a member of the Global Steering Group on Impact Investing, and now we say the UN for Impact Investing. There are 23 countries that's similar to us. They have created recommendations for their countries. Another thing we do to support the intermediaries, we work with several, nowadays is 90 professors from 51 universities, 19 states, 5 regions of Brazil, and I'm so glad we have some of them here in the room. So we do a lot of things about knowledge production, and similar to what Jürgen or Dimitri have said, we support the network of these professors. We support a lot of knowledge. We have an award for students to TCC, their thesis, their PhD thesis. We fund some research, and we fund partnerships, for example, with Ashoka University to create Ashoka, to create a Changemaker Campus. So these are a little bit of our activities with professors. We work with accelerators and incubators. We also have some people here in the room. And the idea is that we were working only with incubators that are engaged with social business. And then we said, wow, if we work only with them, it will take too long to create a systems change. So how can we work with the network, the Brazilian network of incubators and accelerators? We have 400 incubators and accelerators, and 700 of them have passed in a program with ICE, Sebrae, and Protec to bring impact business into their portfolio. We work with wealthy families like Diego to start investing. So we had some money from IADB and those families to invest in social business like Vivenda. That's a big case that do renovation of houses in the slums. We work with startups that are we are also trying to do policy change. We have support the MIDIC in the federal level to pass a new law in Brazil with impact investing and social business. And now we are helping to replicate those policies for the state level. Rio Grande do Norte, Rio de Janeiro, and São Paulo are on the way. Key to success, and then I stop. Start from clear recommendations with broad support and buy-in. Enable game-changing innovation by taking risks. Co-creating with beneficiaries. This is something that we are always trying to do, but trying to learn more and more. Look beyond your own immediate priorities. Create participatory and horizontal governance models. Try to invitations to innovate. It's a new ecosystem, new intermediaries, so how to really engage people to change their mindsets is hard. Overcome legal challenges. There are lots of, nowadays, hybrid organizations with new legal structures, and how to engage government into these new legal forms, and create a collaborative approach for policy change. Learnings, engagement of low-income people. We are really trying to do this all the time, but we have to learn a lot. You called today in the morning fertilization. we call pollination, because in Brazil, when you say fertilization, it comes to our mind a lot of agrotoxics, and we are not into this, but cross-pollination comes more the bee level, and measure impact all the times, and create moments for integration in person like these ones, and continuous communication. And so, social environment problems are complex, and they will not be solved by isolation. So let's do interventions together. So that's it.
Thank you very much, Celia, for your presentation, great presentation. We will have the questions at the end, yeah? Now we will hear Carolina Agnon from ESAG Andion, from ESAG UDESC. Social Innovation Observatory of Florianópolis, co-construction of a digital and collaborative platform.
Good afternoon. Very, very glad to be here and with partners, and thank you very much for the invitation. And Graziella Upstead is my partner. Is not. It was been possible to be here because she coordinates the post-graduation program with me, and so I'm here and she is there. But I will present a work that is a collaborative research made by a lot of people that I will show you, and coordinated by me and Graziella in the University of State of Santa Catarina, in more north, but in south of Brazil. And we put it together with the collaboration of two research groups, the Strategos, that is from business, this business school, and my group, that is NISP, Núcleo of Social Innovation in the Public Sphere, that is from public administration. So it's an interdisciplinary work, and involving more than 20 researchers, co-researchers, and there we have only people from university, but we have more than 10 partners, institutional partners, that include the prefeitura, how can I say, the city hall, and the secretary of economic and sustainable development of the state, and other ones you will see in our platform. But we start from a question that is, Florianópolis is now considered the Ilha do Silício, Silicon Valley of Brazil, and a lot of movements in terms of innovation. And our question was if it makes some difference to the public problems, the problems that we have in the island, in the city. And so in terms of continuing the debate that Celia put, the importance of collaboration and to think about the interface between social innovation and public policy. And this is our, we try to very similar to what we discussed this morning. In understanding social innovation as a process of co-construction and co-dominion of problematic situations. We start from a view that public policy is not something that is made by government, but that is made by public action that involves a lot of actors. And so we can understand more deeply these actions if we observe, if we follow this action. So the focus is to observe the daily politics of different collectives engaged with public problems in the city and the influence in terms of social innovation in public arenas. For us, this concept of public arenas is very important because we observe when we made the cartography of the ecosystem that this ecosystem is formed as Jürgen talk about field of policies, and in this field of policy for us are a kind of public arenas that had a lot of actors, social impact investors, but also NGOs, also governments, and so we make, in terms of theory, I don't have time to explain this, but we make a dialogue a long time. We started that in 2013 to study social innovation based on pragmatic sociology, and especially in actor network theory with the sociology of public problems. So we make a dialogue with these works, and what is this, the contribution of this view to study social innovation ecosystems? We discuss social innovation ecosystems, so I won't rediscuss this, but in our view, this perspective, this pragmatist perspective that's very near from what we discussed this morning is aid to consider the social, territorial, and historical inscriptions. For us, it's very important in the publication, this longitudinal aspect, this historical aspect that in social innovation we discuss the experimentations, the picture, but we don't consider the process. And this process is very historical. We have a trajectory of changing in public problems. So it's important to comprehend this embeddedness of the social innovation in these public arenas that have a public culture, and this public culture is different. If you, for example, if you discuss the child and adolescents' rights in Florianopolis, very different of the discussion in the public arena of solid waste. This public arenas has dynamics and history is very different. So the idea is also to comprehend in this process the co-construction of knowledge, because we think, as you, that the knowledge is constructed in time between actors. And with this, in these laboratories, we live in labs in public arenas. So the idea of our project is to strengthen these dynamics of public inquiry. This concept for us is very important because it's linked with the idea of another science, another form of produced science, that is, the science is produced by the actors facing the public problems. So they are making steps to the resolution. They interpret problems. They give, how can I say? They choose responsibles. They have testimonies. They have a lot of data about the problems that the public official don't have. So it's very important to comprehend this process. And so, in terms methodological, what we did, we create a platform. Why a platform? Because we think, as we talk about, the importance of the artifact, the importance of the collaboration, and to have some space to collaborate. So the digital platform is a strategy to make the cartography of the social innovation ecosystem and to put people together to know each other. So we create this open digital platform that is, the address is there. You can enter. I will show you very quickly because I don't have much time, but I will try to show you how we can use the platform. So the initiative could register online. So we have social innovation initiatives that acts in a public arena and responds to a public problem. And you have also support actors that give support to these initiatives in terms of financing, in terms of training, in terms of articulation, acceleration, certification, etc. So you see here, if the initiative wants to participate, they could enter and put the information, and also we make the observation by the involvement of the graduate students. So they went to the fields and they make the visits and interviews, and so we can have the information about contact, the information more general, but also about how this initiative acts. This is for us is very important. What practices, what kind of thing that they do, and what impact. But not we don't want to see exact the impact, but we want to know what action they do in this kind of thing, the cartography. What they do and what public they work, what kind of incidents in the public sphere they do, the results, and also the partners and the financiers. So with this information, we make the cartography. We can see here in the map, in yellow, we have the observed initiatives. In red one are the mapped initiatives. And we have here, for example, Dyslexia is a platform that works with the child that have dyslexia in the school, and with professors also and that work with them. So we can see here all the information, and this information could give to us also the network of social initiatives and support actors. So we can see here, it will take a little, but we can see here all these links, this relationship about between these actors. And this network, this is all the network. We can see, for example, here we have PNUD, that's a support actor in the ecosystem, FIESC, Federação, Industry Federation of Santa Catarina. And we can see also here, if we can also see this network in every public problem, and we match it with the development, sustainable development objectives. So we try to put in light what is the problem in the city, and to show also these organizations. But our objective is not only to map. So I will continue my presentation here. Oops. Our objective is not only to map. And we have 4 scales of analysis. The first one is to comprehend the territorial and institutional inscription of this ecosystem. And so we made analysis of the public problems and also of the trajectory of these ecosystems in terms of the histories and actors. After we make the cartography, that is this analysis, more structural, to see how this ecosystem is composed. In the third moment, we are doing ethnography studies in some public arenas that we perceive, we see dynamics of social innovation. So we have work in the child and adolescent rights guarantee, the policy of child and adolescent rights guarantee. We worked with the Public Policy Forum. We work with the solid waste arena also. So we have the research more deeply in these arenas in some with more time, with more profundity in terms of analysis. And after that, we can relate these scales to analyze what kind of configuration has these ecosystems. And I will try to show you our first results very quickly, if I have time. I don't know what are my time, but okay. So the idea is to relate these scales. So in terms of results, what do you have? First of all, if you see the institutional and territorial inscriptions for, if you don't know Santa Catarina, it's a state like rich of Brazil, and we have the more high IDH of the IDH, no, IDH, IDH, alguém me ajuda? HDE of Brazil. And the capital is Aslan, a beautiful Aslan, Florianopolis. You are invited to know. And we have the main activity in the island is public service, commerce and services. And in the last decades, we had a movement to transform Florianopolis in an island of the technology in this. And so we reinforced the ETC industry after 99, and we formed 3 technological poles. And in this context, in this movement, we had also a lot of social innovation initiatives that emerged, like Social Good, Brasil, like ECOM, that is a communitary institute. And so you have an ambience that favorize the innovation and so the social innovation. And we have also laws that are listed below. I won't talk this in English because, but we have a decree of the municipality that install and implement a system of innovation with a council, with a fund. This fund don't have money, but we have all the dispositives. So we can see that we have social innovation ecosystem that are forming in the city, but the question is, how is this social innovation ecosystem configured? What kind of actors compose it? What are the relationships between them? And what incidents they promote in the public sphere, in the public arenas? And how they promote social innovation? What we can see in this cartography, first of all, we had, now the numbers change in every day because we are always observing and the initiatives is registering, and you will see in the platform we have more than, but this data is from August, final August. So we had those 220 support actors and 293 social innovation initiatives that was mapped in the cartography. And what it shows, a high proportion of support actors, almost 1-to-1. And we can ask, we have an industry of social innovation. But what we can see, a distribution, in distribution of support by activity. We have more support to the entrepreneurs in terms of technical support and incentive of the social entrepreneurship, but in terms of support to the organizations, it's not very, very common. And in terms of orange of the support, it's very interesting because we have a equilibrium, the same quantity of social support associativism and social business and entrepreneurs. Almost 50% of the support network are from social business. And the other one is more associativism traditional, with no profit, the majority. And we have also a balance between sectors in financing, but the forms of financing, the financing by government, 3% from each other, each one, government, enterprise, and civil society. It's very balanced, but the forms of financement are very conventional. We don't have venture capital, and the forms of financement is majority from government in terms of donation and from philanthropy. And we have little support from government, as the other case. Only 21% of the actors in the support network are from government, and university 8%, very, very little, as you said. In 65% acts in local and regional scale. So it's a network of support that are very local, more local than international. So we see the functions, acceleration, technical, we see that you have more technical support, articulation and links, and funding and grants. So in terms of social innovation initiatives, we mapped 293 social initiatives. The majority of them derives from civil society. So we have to study civil society because they are very important to sustain, to maintain the social innovation ecosystem. 3 minutes, oh la la. So only 3.5 are from government. Also governments know, we don't see government here. And we have a very dispersion in terms of causes, in terms of thematics that are worked. 24 causes cited. So we have a lot of fields, but we try to synthesize in 4 major fields of public policy. The first one was social security, that is the most important. The second one, environment sustainability, defense of rights in advocacy, and urban and community development. So this is the network. When you analyze the network, you don't see a governance, a centralized governance, or a scheme of governance. We have a governance very diffused and very little collaboration between actors. So but we have some key actors that mobilize a network of other actors, like Instituto Wilson Groh, that is a network of other civil society organizations, ICON, Social Good. We have some actors, but we don't have articulations more dense, more strong in this network. To finish, when we observe more deeply these experiences, what we can say about this case? We observed the initiatives. Today we have more than 100 initiatives that were observed for our observatory. And the initiatives observed has all the information completed. And we can see some groups, these 4 groups, that they have a profile, a different profile in terms of practice of social innovation. So the importance of this research is to show that social innovation is not the same thing. For if you look at a field, you will see that the practice change. So in the first group, we see this group named Social Security Field of Public Policy. They act with child and adolescent rights, education, healthcare, social assistance, culture, art, sport, recreation. We call traditional social innovation. They are very important in Brazil and Florianopolis. As I talk Brazil because I'm studying civil society from the 90s. And we see that this group is very important in our civil society. So these social innovation initiatives are in majority for associative field, have its origin linked with churches and community-based organizations. And so social innovation here is related with offer of regular services turned to the social vulnerabilities, action in collaboration with government through public policies. This is the majority in our ecosystem. The second group that are very strong also are the field of environment sustainability. There we see the business, the social impact business. So we have enterprise, we have some enterprise that promotes social business. Like Brotei, like Meu Copo Eco, so they mobilize around the issues of biodiversity, waste, water management, sanitation, animal rights, conscious consumptions. They are more plural and connect nationally and globally, and most of them use technologies for social change. They mobilize in another form. They don't participate from councils and forums. They participate of collectives, more informal, as you show. And the third group is not so expressive as the others, but they are important because they work with defense of rights and advocacy. And so we have here access to culture, racial and gender equality, rights of people with disabilities, and they promote social technologies and methodologies. And we have a higher mobilization in these organizations. Finally, the fourth group is the little one, and very important because they work with community and urban development. And we have some examples, very important. I don't have time to talk about them, but I can explain after, like Revolução dos Baldinhos, that is a movement to promote urban agriculture. Or, for example, Plante Pra Mim also works with this kind of thing, of project linked with urban agriculture. So, in this, the final consideration, the results is that this kind of study can show us some things about the dynamics in Florianopolis, but also about the dynamics of social innovation ecosystem in countries in development. And so we can see some factors that reinforce all kind of social innovations. And we try to put in light some levels of analysis: macro, institutional, meso, the cartography, but not only cartography in terms of offer, but also in terms of demand, of social problems, and these social innovation initiatives, and also the interaction and governance, and finally, to direct observe the practice and consequence. So this is the importance to develop a multi-scalar analysis. So in terms of institutional background and author, we can see in Florianopolis and maybe in Brazil, we can talk about it, this support emerged from bottom-up dynamics and are actors that promote social innovation take risks because it's not very easy to do that. They take risk and they made support also. So the regulation and the policies are more linked to these initiatives, and they are originally linked to the main actors of the ecosystem itself. In terms of demand, the ecosystem is configured around the fields of public policies and public arenas that are important in each territory. In Florianopolis, like most cities in the south, the majority of social innovation initiatives mobilize around the most urgent issues, work with the most excluded policies. And this is the questions for Celia, for me, is the dilemma of public policies and business. So how can we work with urgent issues and the most excluded peoples, and some urgent issues don't monetize, we can't make money of them, and how we can work with social innovation in these issues. So the ecosystem of social innovation Florianopolis is characterized as more proactive than planned, and this raises the questions in what extent it will be able to produce enduring social change to address the city's dilemmas. And it's very important to have support of the government and also from the society to sustain this process. So it's very important to deepen the fields of experience, and we are doing that. We are researching this experience to trying to understand how they face the problems and how they construct strategies to maintain in time. So thank you very much. Excuse me for the time because it's very difficult to talk in English. Thank you.
Thank you, Carolina, for this interesting presentation. Now we will have the presentation of Silvio, my colleague Silvio Bittencourt, the head of Technological Institute for Unicinos.
Good afternoon. My name is Silvio. Thank you for the opportunity to speak a little bit about our research, my research and Claudia, about social innovation in a specific context that is the emergent field of research in Brazil, the living labs. So our study is about open social innovation in living labs, a case of study in Brazil. And this is part of our research and become an article that we will publish in a national periodic in the next month. I invite everyone to read about. Yeah. Okay. Our research question is about how open social innovation can explain the development of social innovations. The concept is coined by Cheesebrook and Dimini in a book published in 2014 named by New Frontiers of Social Innovation Research, New Frontiers and Open Innovation Research. The context of that we conduct this study is in Brazil and in the environments called living labs. Brazil, of course, is an opportune place for the development of social innovation as it has faced increasing poverty and inequality. We have a lot of data that can show this situation. Living labs is a new field in Brazil to research. Started the empirical activities in around 2009, especially in the southwest of Brazil. And in this study, we discuss living labs like an approach of open and user-centered innovation. To social innovation, the user-centered way is the best form to show and discuss this question, because the citizen is the user that we center our social innovations. As one of the results of the open innovation movements, Chisbrook observes that living labs have grown along with the ENO, European Network of Living Labs, as an instrument of innovation policy for Europe in a new paradigm called Open Innovation 2.0. And that has expanded to different parts of the world, including Brazil, of course. The definition by Chisbrook and Dimini is proposed to be the application of either inbound or outbound open innovation strategies, along with innovations in the associate business model of the organization to social challenges. So, we identify, or believe that we identify, a theoretical gap that this approach don't see or didn't consider a third kind of open innovation strategy. That strategy is a coupled open innovation. So, not discussed by Chisbrook and Jiminy, and we've adopted the idea of a tiered open social innovation strategy called the coupled open innovation strategy. What kind of knowledge, innovative knowledge flows involve the coupled innovation strategy? Involves bidirectional and interactive flows of innovation knowledge from the combination of inbound and outbound open innovation strategies. So this kind of open innovation strategy, the coupled model of open innovation, would be able to lead to value creation, and especially interactive coupled, in which the outputs of innovation are created collaboratively by all involved, linking the co-creation only to the last. Our methodological procedures involve, this research involves a qualitative case study. We selected 2 living labs in Brazil, the Habitat Living Lab, that is located in Vitória, Espírito Santo, southwest of Brazil, and Corais Living Lab. Corais is located in Curitiba, Paraná, Brazil, but there is a simple difference between them. The first one, Habitat Living Lab, is a physical environment, but Corais Living Labs is a virtual environment, like a platform to conduce the connection by different knowledges adopted and used by the users. The selection took into account 3 criteria: having a link with NOL, European Network of Living Labs. These 2 living labs is recognized by this network and focused on the development of social innovations and the regularity of its activities. The third one is very important for our research, because Brazil has, along these 10 years, different kind of initiatives in living labs, but don't have continuity in our activities. Data collection focus through 11 semi-structured interviews with those responsible for the management of the living labs studied, and their main leaders and leading users, and express around the definition of open social innovation proposed by Chisbrook and Jiminin, and additionally by the couple models of open innovation studied by Piller and West. For each of these strategies, we derived specific topics that defined the research roadmap. So, our findings can show that every kind of open social innovation or the different flows of innovative knowledge is noted or is showed in this kind of living labs. Especially, we can identify the interactive couple in a kind of couple open innovation strategy in Living Lab Habitat and Corais. In Living Lab Habitat, we can research combination of participatory and collaborative process supported by how Living Lab Habitat responds to a need identified through detection mechanisms such as the Bem-Maior. Bem-Maior is a kind of forum or regular meetings to strategic planning of the territory, called Territory of Bem, or Território do Bem. And others forums mobilize the network when the idea is feasible and aligned with its purpose. And in Corais, platform Corais, knowledge sharing between projects with a mechanism or a tool in the platform called Tree of Knowledge that can share different words or keywords to different projects in the platform and maintains of openness to anyone who wants to seek new insights from the experience made available and creation of collectives on the platform that collaborate with each other. Is a dimensions that can sustain the co-creation and the adoption of this kind of open innovation strategies. Governance of the collaboration process, tools and dedicated infrastructures, and openness of attitudes, structure, and process. Our conclusions and final remarks. As main theoretical implication, it broadened the notion of open social innovation initially proposed by Chisbrug and me through the inclusion of couple open innovation strategy first described by Gassman and Enkel, Gassman Chisbrug, and explored later, for example, by Pillar and West. We have identified two managerial implications examining how open social innovation explains the social innovation development. We can highlight its implication for public policies in support of social innovations and recommendations, sorry, there's a little wrong, for improving the managerial practice of those responsible for living labs aimed at development of social innovations that work in the development of social innovations. The insertion of co-innovation strategy in the theoretical framework expands the power of explaining the development of social innovations through the lens of open social innovation and the three dimensions for co-creation social innovations in living labs represent a type of key process for leveraging interactive collaboration for development of social innovations. The main limitation of these studies refers to dynamic of living labs transformations in Brazil. Like I said, we have a different kind of projects that started and finished in different times. And further research is in this field of research could emerge from new incursions that attempted to understand the open social innovation through the adoption of three open innovation strategies in other situations, such as social enterprise, explored by Chisbrug and Jiminy in this book, and non-governmental organizations, or even companies that promote social innovation. Special attention should be given to future studies in two aspects: on the value that is co-created, a kind of social value, due to being different among the living labs studied, being understood in the collective social context in which social innovations are developed. And second, on co-creation in development of social innovations from the interactive coupled in which the outputs of innovation are created collaboratively by all involved. So, is our contacts and finish my presentation. Thank you.
Now, the last presentation, Lucas Roda from PUC-RS will show us service learning as a way to enhance social innovation.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the invitation. I will program that we are doing and work about include social innovation in service learning and social entrepreneurship too. Okay. Well, social innovation for us is a part of us service learning. Service learning is the Vice President of Extension and Community Affairs. The objective of the program is to provide students with practical application of knowledge acquired in the classroom, based on real cases, both by partner organizations. These organizations, we are changed for social organizations because we saw that the impact of the inter-students are higher. The program enables students to develop social and emotional skills, preparing them for a job market where entrepreneurship and innovation are key skills. Well, we have a flow and start on a match when we have a team that support the professor and choose a partner according the course content. It's interesting because today we use this program for undergraduate, but we think that we could use this for graduate programs too. It's okay. We have this team and choose the partner. After we use innovative methodologies, dynamics, actives to elaborate one project for this partner, 1, 2, or 3 projects, depends the class. We have one step, it's coordinates the partner presentation to students, bringing the reality of the organization and their needs. After we have a step hands-on, we begin of the project by the students with partner and professor facilitation. It's interesting, for example, we saw that if we have a technical visit, the view of the students is completely different. And now we are always intent to do a visit to change the empathy. It's important too because we think that at least 3 times with the partner is important because you could develop a project, but if you develop a project only with students, probably the project doesn't mean nothing for the partner. And if we have a mid-term presentation for change something if we need to do. After, at least final, we have stand-ups. It's a final presentation of the project prepared by the students for the partner and teacher. And at final, we have a feedback class that it's important to see what's good, what's not good. It's a moment to reflective about the learning process. Today, PUC has 7 schools and 5 schools are included in this program. For example, We have nutrition, we have geography, computer science, advertising, management. We have a lot of courses today. This is a map. It's last semester, and you have the neighborhood. Wow, sorry. And last semester we had 21 partners, and here is the map of Porto Alegre, a neighborhood. Wow. This is a graphic that we had a lot of subjects. We have partners and classes and some professors. This semester we had 21 subjects with 23 partners, and today we have 677 students in the project. We don't have the number of projects because we are currently in the semester and we don't have finished these projects. But last semester, 127 projects for these partners. The partnership benefits for the students, opportunity to develop skills and required in the job market, putting their knowledge into practice through a real case and returning innovative and creative solutions to society. For the professor, the opportunity to use classroom space dynamically, actively, and disruptively, contributing to the training of socially engaged, responsive, and empathic profession. For the partner organization, innovative solutions designed by students and professors exclusively for your business, for free. It's important. For society, skilled and socially engaged professionals, as well as organizations better matched to their niche market, contribute to solving emerging community demands. The national award or education management, and the last, the third place of Sebrae Award of Entrepreneurship Education. It's last year. I will speak a little about one case last semester, my course, Innovation Management. We had a partner is 101 Vira-Latas, work with dogs and cats. This course participated in a project, Students for Change, and another project that Dortmund is a partnership, and the program Students for Change. This organization is an NGO with a lot of problems. They don't know very well what's business, administration, process, finance. It's completely different for them. They host and cares for the abandoned animals or the extinction squad in the metropolitan region of Porto Alegre, waiting for those who adopt or now as part of the family. Okay. The course. We use inverted classroom, design thinking, and service learning to attend this organization. The students had contact with the management of the NGO. They could experience and develop personal, collaborative, and transformational skills related to entrepreneurship and social innovation. The content of innovation management, the knowledge. Students develop projects for disciplined partners, use some tools like empathy map, golden circle, theory of change, link canvas, linkception, and pitch. The results. This course had 7 projects. The first, a Godfather program for animals that are the NGO and cannot be donated. These animals stayed in NGO. The second, develop of a structured volunteer program for the society. The third, structuring for the animal collection and adoption process. They don't never process adoption. The next, process management with a focus on a financial process. They had a lot of problems with financial. The next one, e-commerce for the sales of products that the NGO already owns and creation a new portfolio. The next, donation program based on solidarity funds. And at final, a market plan to take advantage of donation of rations for animal products. I think they had 260 animals, a lot of animals. And for us, discipline results. This new approach from socially relevant problems brought to the surface something very relevant that students often had no contact. Students were able to analyze a context together. Oh, return. Together with the entrepreneurs, and from quantitative and qualitative research contests, and developed projects that have a social impact. The systematic approach brings a new meaning of the course, showing that universities can positively impact their environment from work by their students with the facilitation of the professors. Generate positive results for all involved, students, teacher, organization, society. At final, I have one video to show you some results of this partnership.
Olá, pessoal. Eu estou aqui para agradecer a participação das 101 vira-latas no programa Service Learning. Nós fomos muito bem acolhidos desde o primeiro momento com a equipe da Carol, o professor Lucas, a professora Maíra, sempre muito bem prestativos, né, para nos ajudar com as nossas dúvidas e o que fosse necessário. Nós percebemos também que o engajamento da turma, né, em conhecer os nossos problemas para nos ajudar com as melhorias, né, e tudo que fosse necessário na ONG. Eles também, a turma do professor Lucas, veio aqui visitar o abrigo, né, e dentro dessas visitas, um aluno ele percebeu um pequeno detalhe que nós, vivendo aqui o nosso dia a dia, não tínhamos percebido, né? A troca da ordem da alimentação, né, dos animais gerava assim uma quantidade de tempo maior deles ficarem sujos, né? Então o olhar de cada grupo foi muito importante para a ONG. Todos os projetos foram maravilhosos e serão implementados na ONG, fidelizando os nossos voluntários, aumentando as nossas arrecadações, ajudando os nossos projetos administrativos e, o mais importante, aumentando as nossas adoções. Eu venho aqui novamente agradecer a PUC por a oportunidade de participarmos desse projeto inovador e ficamos abertos a novas parcerias. Muito obrigada.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Now I invite the presentations to answer the questions, if we have someone. Silvio, Lucas, Célia, and Carolina. Questions? in Portuguese, in English, in German.
Yes, in German. I try in German, so who? No, thank you for the presentation. I have to restrict on to two questions. One question would go to Celia. I think you mentioned the tremendous problems and the tremendous amount of money that we need, and I think you did a very interesting and very important job to create those social businesses. My question would be, what could be the role of a traditional company? How could they contribute to these working on the sustainable development goals? And I think that in Germany we have large companies that not only support these social enterprise, but it's also debate about the shared value concept from Porter that meant that also traditional companies should take these sustainable development goals and challenges as a chance to create new business models that at the same time create social and economic value. That would be the question of the traditional companies. And to Carolina, you say that, I think in my presentation, that you cannot create an ecosystem. And I think that is not what you do, but you to contribute to the ecosystem. What do you think is your contribution as university to make it more visible, or how would you describe the role of university in this process of the observatorio?
Thanks for the question, Jürgen. If we look to the amount of money large corporations have, and there is a really interesting article from Elizabeth from IADB and Charmaine Love from B Corp movement and in UK. They have mapped how much money those companies are sitting on because of like any kind of legal issues, employees' actions, and how to move this capital into innovation. So that's one thing for me. So